Today, we're going to dive into the incredible life of Blanche Kelso Bruce. Now, this is a man who made the unbelievable journey from the absolute confines of slavery all the way to the halls of the U.S. Senate. His story is just an amazing example of resilience, raw intelligence, and political savvy in one of America's most turbulent times. So let's just kick things off with a question that, honestly, gets right to the heart of a powerful and way too often overlooked piece of American history. Who actually holds this really unique and incredibly important distinction? You got it. The answer is Blanche Kelso Bruce. I mean, his journey from legally being considered property to literally shaping national policy, well, it's a stunning testament to what was possible during the Reconstruction era and just the sheer force of his own personal ambition and character. To really wrap your head around the scale of what he accomplished, we have to start at the very beginning. We have to look at his origins, which, were defined by the absolutely brutal institution he was born into. Bruce was born enslaved back on March 1, 1841, near Farmville, Virginia. He was one of 11 kids born to an enslaved woman, Polly Bruce. And in just a cruel twist that was all too common for that time, his legal owner was also his biological father, a white planter by the name of Pettis Perkinson. As a little kid, Bruce's entire life was dictated by the business interests of his enslaver. He was moved across state lines just like any other piece of property. First down to Mississippi when he was just 8 years old to work in the cotton fields, and then a year later over to Missouri. But it was there, while he was doing other forced labor, that he also worked as a printer's apprentice, maybe an early glimpse of a world that existed beyond the plantation. You see, when the Civil War broke out, it didn't just tear the nation apart. For Bruce, it created a crack, an opportunity to seize his own freedom and begin this monumental task of building a life, a brand new life, completely from scratch. So in 1862, at just 21 years old, Bruce made the incredibly courageous decision to escape. He fled to Lawrence, Kansas, which was a well-known safe haven for abolitionists. He was literally stepping out of bondage and into this world of completely uncertain possibility. And what he did right after gaining his freedom is pretty remarkable. He didn't just look for opportunities for himself, he actually created them for other people. He founded the very first school for Black children in Kansas, and then he moved to Missouri to start another one, all while pursuing his own education at the progressive Oberlin College in Ohio. Now, a lack of money eventually forced him to leave, and he had to take work as a steamboat porter on the Mississippi River. Then, in 1869, Bruce decided to go back to Mississippi, but this time, he was a free man. And it was right here, during the peak of Reconstruction, that his ambition, his intelligence, and his political skills just fueled this meteoric rise. I mean, his climb up the ladder was nothing short of astonishing. He started out as a registrar of voters. Then he quickly became sergeant at arms in the state senate. From there, he became a county sheriff, a tax collector, and a superintendent of education. And get this, in just 5 short years, the Mississippi legislature elected him to represent the state in the United States Senate. So on March 5th, 1875, Blanche Kelso Bruce walked right into the U.S. Senate. In doing so, he made history as the very first African-American to serve a full 6-year term in that chamber. Now, his entry wasn't exactly smooth. When Mississippi's senior Senator James Alcorn flat out refused to escort him to take his oath, which was the tradition, Bruce just started down the aisle alone. But then, Senator Roscoe Conkling of New York stood up and walked with him. And that began a really powerful political alliance. Bruce's own words here really show his strategy. He chose to meet that hostility with diplomacy and with dignity. Once in the Senate, Bruce quickly became a voice for anyone who was marginalized. He fought to protect Black voting rights and to get overdue back pay for Black Civil War veterans. But his advocacy didn't stop there. He also pushed for a more humane federal policy toward Native Americans, and he stood in firm opposition to the Chinese Exclusion Act. And this moment, wow, this just perfectly illustrates his trailblazing position. During a really heated debate on that very bill to exclude Chinese immigrants, Bruce was called upon to take the presiding officer's chair. A man who was born enslaved was now presiding over the United States Senate. That is a milestone with immense symbolic power. By the time his Senate term ended in 1881, the whole political landscape had changed dramatically. The end of Reconstruction in Mississippi basically slammed the door shut on his re-election. But Bruce's influence in Washington? Oh, that was far from over. He absolutely remained a prominent national figure, just shifting from elected office to key presidential appointments. He was appointed Register of the Treasury by President James Garfield and later served as the Recorder of Deeds for the District of Columbia under President Benjamin Harrison. So let this sink in, because this is the crucial point. As Register of the Treasury, the signature of Blanche Kelso Bruce was printed on all of the nation's money. Think about that. The signature of a man who was once bought and sold as property was now on the very currency of the United States. Bruce's life is really like a mirror. It reflects both the remarkable, though really brief, opportunities of the Reconstruction era, and, at the same time, the harsh and violent realities of its end. The withdrawal of federal troops from the South, the rise of racist codes, and just widespread violence. It all systematically dismantled the political world that had made his election possible in the first place. The danger became so real that he could no longer even travel safely in the state he once represented. His path in public service had to shift, permanently, from the ballot box to the president's pen. For decades after he died, his incredible story just kind of faded from the national conversation. It was another casualty of the effort to erase the history of Black achievement during Reconstruction. But in recent years, his place in history has thankfully been rightfully restored, and most visibly by the U.S. Senate commissioning his portrait, which now hangs in the Capitol. And all of this leaves us with a final, really vital thought. The story of Blanche K. Bruce, a story that was once hidden in plain sight, it really forces us to ask, what other crucial figures have been overlooked, and what other essential stories of American history still remain untold?